Senile Joe Biden is worse than a puppet. He is a prop. Joe Biden has no core beliefs. He believes in nothing. He's only interested in getting power and having status. He didn't go into it with good intentions. He wanted to sell out as soon as he was elected. This is a clip of Joe Biden bragging about wanting to take campaign contributions from the elites.
Senator, I'm sure that you would agree that your service in the Senate up to this point has not reflected any particular concern for the larger contributors.
Well, the fortunate thing is I didn't have many larger contributors, and the only reason, see, I went to the big guys for the money. I was ready to prostitute myself in the manner in which I talk about it, but what happened was they said, come back when you're 40, son, and so I had to go out.
Joe Biden is corrupt. Whenever the big money interest and the donors tell him to do something, he does it. They tell him to cut social programs like Social Security and others, he does it. They tell him to be more hawkish on Russia and North Korea, he does it. They tell him to jump, he asks how high. Here's a clip of Joe Biden bragging about wanting to cut Social Security, and then 2 other clips of him criticizing Trump for wanting to de-escalate tensions with North Korea and Russia.
When I introduced the budget freeze years ago, the liberals in my party said, it's an awful thing you're doing, Joe. You are all the programs we care about, you're freezing them. Money for the blind, the disabled, education, and so on. And my argument then is the one I make now, which is the strongest, most compelling reason to be for this amendment or an amendment, and that is that if we don't do that, all the things I care most about are going to be gone. I mean, whatever happened to that old conservative discipline about paying for what you spend? I'm up for re-election this year, and I'm going to remind everybody what I did at home, which is going to cost me politically. When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid. I meant veterans benefits. I meant every single solitary thing in the government. And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a 3rd time, and I tried it a 4th time.
Are we a nation that embraces dictators and tyrants like Putin and Kim Jong-un? We don't, but Trump does. We cannot elect a man who belittles our closest allies while embracing dictators like Vladimir Putin. No, I mean it.
Joe Biden is a liar. Now, obviously, I agree with Joe Biden on wanting to cut social programs, but my criticism of him is that he lied about it. As a result, I cannot trust anything he says when he tries to appeal to me. He has said things in order to not come across as communist, but I don't believe him. Here's a clip of Joe Biden lying about wanting to cut Social Security on the debate stage.
Let me ask you a question, Joe.
Yeah.
You're right here with me.
Yeah.
Have you been on the floor of the Senate? You were in the Senate for a few years.
Yeah.
Time and time again, talking about the necessity, with pride, about cutting Social Security, cutting Medicare, cutting veterans programs.
No.
You never said that.
No.
Joe Biden has spit in the eyes of the younger generation. As I am a member of the younger generation, I find his feelings toward me to be quite upsetting. Here's a clip of Joe Biden saying that he doesn't care about the problems of the younger generation.
And so the younger generation now tells me how tough things are. Give me a break. No. I have no empathy for it. Give me a break.
See now, Joe Biden suffers from dementia. People deny it and claim he has a stutter. It is not a stutter. A stutter does not make you forget what state you are in. It does not make you tell stories about your interactions with a man named Corn Pop and how you learned about roaches. Here are some clips of Joe Biden showing signs of dementia, and another clip of an idiot trying to convince you it's a stutter.
I'm looking forward to this, man. You walk behind me in a debate. Come here, man. Rich Fitzgerald, the county executive, Allegheny County executive, being here, and we don't always live up to that's who we are. Go to Joe 30330 and help me in this fight. We can speak out and be more straightforward. Senator John, it's not about, I know you're supporting by saying booing, but look, here's the deal. Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future. You don't have here in Miami, in Florida. You don't have it here. That is, if you keep an audience. All these breakthroughs we have with help people who have or in fact are likely to get Alzheimer's. By Wall Street bankers, CEOs, and hedge fund managers. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. I found that, the secretary, we sat together in many meetings. My wife is a full-time teacher, taught all during when we were vice president. President Trump and the demagogues around the world. How can a person dignity be maintained?
And she never yields. She does not break. She stands up.
The bills that the future president here, that the senator's talking about. We choose truth over facts. I keep my recommendation in private. Unlike you, I expect you would go ahead and say whatever was said privately with him. That's why I'll end the gag rule, the global gag rule that prevents money from getting to NGOs. $100 billion worth of loopholes in the law. Why they do that? I looked at it. Anyway, that's what I think my plan, I know what my plan does. By strengthening. To conquer devastating diseases like cancer and addiction and Alzheimer's. In terms of the Ku Klux Klan and white supremacy, the way we've always been, look, because we've neglected all my time in public life unless I've gotten involved. Folks, we're virtually energy independent. That's the essence of what my plan in detail lays out. I'm happy to discuss it more in detail if the Senator wants to. And so that triumph of democracy and liberalism over fascism and autocracy. And you heard it in the debate. John McCain. I don't recognize him anymore. We invested significantly in this city in transportation, only 20. Anyway, the point is we've made significant investments in this state. I expect in this city. They also got that last year out of the mission statement of our citizenship and immigration services. And partnerships built on coercion on non-traditional threats. like weaponized corruption. We cannot be a credible voice on the proliferation of nuclear security, We'll look for enforceable commitments. They'll reduce emissions. I'm looking forward to this, man. You walk behind me in a debate. Come here, man. I learned a lot. And I learned that it makes a difference. This was the diving board area, and I was one of the guards, and there was a 3-meter board. And you fell off sideways, you landed on the darn cement over there. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys. And I did. And back in those days, to show how things have changed, one of the things you had to use, if you used pomade in your hair, you had to wear a bathing cap. And so he was up on the board, wouldn't listen to me. I said, hey, Esther, you, off the board. I'll come up and drag you off. Well, he came off, and he said, I'll meet you outside. My car, these were all public housing behind it. My car, there was a gate out here. I parked my car outside the gate. And he said, I'll be waiting for you. He was waiting for 3 guys in straight razors. Not a joke. There was a guy named Bill Wright, Mouse, the only white guy, and he did all the pools. He was the mechanic. And I said, what am I going to do? He said, come down here in the basement where all the pool filter is. You know the chain? There used to be a chain that went across the deep end. And he cut off a 6-foot length of chain. He folded up. He said, you walk out with that chain. And you walk to the car and say, you may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head. I said, you kidding me? He said, no, if you don't come back. And he was right. So I walked out with the chain. And I walked up to my car. And in those days, you used to remember the straight razor. You'd bang them on the curb, get them rusty, put them in the rain barrel, get them rusty. And I looked at him, but I was smart then. I said, first of all, I said, when I tell you get off the board, you get off the board, and I'll kick you out again, but I shouldn't have called you Esther Williams. I apologize for that. I apologize, but I didn't know that apology was going to work. He said, you apologize to me? I said, I apologize for that, not for throwing you out, but I apologize for what I said. He said, okay, close the straight razor, and my heart began to beat again.
Right, because you have Trump, the GOP, a number of Republicans, Dem supporters who oppose Biden, trying to label Joe Biden as an old man with dementia. Because the thing is, Joe Biden misspeaks, and he will continue to misspeak, thus making him a bigger and easier target. Now, the way the Biden supporters have been able to combat that claim is pointing out that Joe Biden has had a lifelong problem with stuttering, which I will say I'm completely unfamiliar with the challenges that come with a stutter. And I started looking into it further, because when someone says, they have a stutter, I just think someone that says, I, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking for the answer. Well, how it explains sometimes the odd sentence structure or the word choice. And actually, I'll read a small snippet from this interesting Atlantic article about Joe Biden's stutter. I'll link to it down below. The author writes there, a stutter does not get worse as a person ages, but trying to keep it at bay can take immense physical and mental energy. Noting, now, Biden talks all day to audiences both small and large. Also noting, in addition to periodically stuttering or blocking on certain sounds, he appears to intentionally not stutter by switching to an alternative word, a technique called circumlocution, which can yield mangled syntax. I've been following practically everything he said for months now, and sometimes what is quickly characterized as a memory lapse is indeed a stutter. Understand, this is not me saying that Biden does not make mistakes, right? All politicians to different degrees make mistakes when speaking. But we are likely going to see a higher rate of people saying that Joe Biden has dementia when there are moments where you see the headlines where it's like, Joe Biden appears to forget Obama's name.
Joe Biden is a total creep. There's been many occasions where he's obviously made young girls uncomfortable with his constant and excessive touching. Now, I believe a person is innocent until proven guilty. I believe in the criminal justice system, and I believe in the right to a fair trial. That being said, I believe Tara Reade. I'm not a fan of the believe all women movement. I like to look at an individual case and come to a determination. And although I believe innocent until proven guilty, Joe Biden is so powerful that he's able to avoid a trial in order to prove his guilt or innocence. Here's a clip of a woman describing her experience around Joe. Some other clips are mixed in with it, and a clip of Tara Reade talking about her sexual assault from Joe Biden.
It happened also suddenly, very unexpectedly, out of nowhere. I feel Joe Biden put his hands on my shoulders, get up very close to me from behind, lean in, smell my hair, and then plant a slow kiss on the top of my head. To have the Vice President of the United States do that to me so unexpectedly and just kind of out of nowhere, it was just shocking. It was shocking because you don't expect that kind of intimate behavior to touch you and to feel you and to be so close to you in that way.
Said, I want you to take this to Joe. He wants it. He wants you to bring it. Hurry. And I said, okay. And it was a gym bag. And so I went down and I was heading down towards there. And then we were in like the side. It was like the side area. Handed him the thing and he greeted me. He remembered my name. And then we were alone. There was no like exchange really. He just had me up against the wall. And I was wearing like a skirt and I remember my legs had been hurting from the marble, of the Capitol, like walking. And so I remember that kind of stuff. I remember like I was wearing a blouse and he just had me up against the wall and the wall was cold. And I remember it happened all at once. The gym bag, I don't know where it went. I handed it to him, it was gone. And then his hands were on me and underneath my clothes. And and then he went, He went down my skirt, but then up inside it, and he penetrated me. Several things, and I can't remember everything he said. I remember a couple of things. I remember him saying first, before, like as he was doing it, do you want to go somewhere else? And then him saying to me when I pulled away, he said, come on, man, I heard you liked me. And I can't remember exactly if he said I thought or if I heard, but it's like he implied like that I had done this. Like, I don't know. And for me, it was like everything shattered in that moment, because I knew like we were alone. It was over, right? He wasn't trying to do anything more, but I looked up to him. He was like my father's age. He was this champion of women's rights in my eyes. And I just felt sick because when he pulled back, he looked annoyed. And he said something else to me that I don't want to say. And then he said, you're okay, you're fine, you're okay, you're fine. And then he walked away and he went on with his...
Joe Biden is a communist. Although he pretends to be a moderate, and he pretends to be right-wing on certain issues, the fact is he has fully embraced corporate socialism. Communists like crazy Bernie Sanders want the government to give handouts to corporations and the poor. American heroes like Mr. Trump want to stop handouts to corporations and the poor. Obviously, I disagree with Bernie more than Joe Biden on the issues, but at least Bernie is consistent in his terrible ideas. Joe Biden wants to give out handouts to major corporations and not give handouts to the poor. Joe Biden's reasons are not the same as mine. I think we shouldn't give out handouts to anybody, because I think it would ultimately help them advance on the economic ladder. Joe Biden opposes it because he doesn't give a damn about the working poor, and he wants to give that money to the people that fund his campaign. And I would like to urge all the Bernie brothers that didn't want to vote for Hillary in 2016, but decided to vote for her because they felt it was the lesser of two evils, come over to Team Trump. We're going to drain the swamp that allows people like Joe Biden to become a Democratic nominee. If you vote for Joe Biden in this election, you will not be voting for the return of Obama. As embarrassing as you believe Donald Trump is, Biden is worse. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. Links to the videos used will be in the description. I'll be taking a break for a couple days. I'm thinking about doing 5 videos a week instead of 7. Maybe less. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you to every person who watched this video. And if you watched to the end, I really appreciate it.